to tell. It's gonna be a great Noel. It's the Advent Calendar House. Muppets, Batman, Smurfs, and even Garfield's Halloween. We're gonna take a trip down memory lane. Frosty, Rudolph, and a bunch you've probably never seen. It's Mike and pals that come to entertain. Turn the knob and lift the latch for fun and laughs that can't be matched. And just beware the icy patch. It's the Advent Calendar House.
Welcome to the Advent Calendar House, the podcast brought to you in no part by the United States Forest Service and also possibly a poorly managed theme park that's been closed for over 50 years. We're creeping ever so closely to Christmas, but we're not out of the woods yet, and if this special had its way, we'd stay there. So join us as we accidentally roll ourselves into a giant snowball down a hill back to 1970 as we witness a very special meeting of Santa and the Three Bears. I am longing for Christmas spirit while getting dragged to an aquarium in Florida, Mike Westfall. It'll make sense, by which I mean it will absolutely not make sense. And joining me, because I woke him up from a long winter's nap and begged him to bring me a tree, it's Ethan the Hungry Reader. Hey, Ethan.
Hi, how do you like the toilet seat cover I'm wearing for a beard? Very natural, right?
Like the real thing. And the happiest and possibly only ranger in all of Yellowstone, as long as he stays out of that dreaded zone of death. It's Jerry Davila from Totally Rad Christmas. Hey, Jerry.
Hey, I think I still have my Santa suit back from when I watched the special in which absolutely nothing happens plot-wise.
We'll fill the time. Thank you all for joining me.
Thanks for having us.
This is one of these specials that I had on my parents' Christmas VHS mixtape of stuff taped off the TV. But when they taped it and what channel it was on is completely lost to time. But first, tell me about your history with this special, and we will start with Jerry.
So my aunt had this taped on VHS as well. I don't recall when I saw it. I know it was probably early to mid 80s at some point, but I saw it like a few times. And you know me, Mike, I'm super into like the action cartoons. So Transformers, G.I. Joes, Thundercats, all that stuff. So stuff like this, I liked a lot. I just didn't like it as much. And so when I'd see this where there's like no villain, no nothing, I remember kind of being turned off by it. So after watching it those few times, I kind of forgot about it until I had to watch it again for this. And I got to say, it holds up as well as it does.
That's a good answer. Ethan, what about you?
Didn't you invite me to watch this one on a previous episode?
I think we might have, and we couldn't figure out why I had your name written down for this one.
No, I thought it was because I had specifically said I wanted to do Santa Bear's High Flying Adventure, and you got it kind of messed up.
I also noted, like, some of the animators on this special also went on to work on the Christmas Tree Train, which we have talked about.
Yes.
Yeah, this is kind of the lost prequel to the Christmas Tree Train. And so there's a connection right there. But for me, the connection is that I'm a lifetime Mystery Science Theater and Riff Tracks fan.
But talking about the VHS tape I had this on, I think it was the first thing on that tape. So usually when I wanted to watch something else, I just fast forwarded through this. But every so often I'd have to sit and watch it. So I remembered it pretty well. But it turns out Santa and the Three Bears actually premiered in theaters on November 7th, 1970. And to find out how that happened, I had to take a deeper than expected dive into the history of Santa and the Three Bears. Or should I say, and credit a blog post from 2021 titled The Unusual History of Santa and the Three Bears. That's on a website called the Delbert Cartoon Report, so thank you to the author of that, and also thank you to Cartoon Research for doing the heavy lifting here. So this special was written and directed by Tony Benedict, who was a writer at Hanna-Barbera who worked on everything from the Flintstones and the Jetsons to Yogi Bear and Wally Gator.
So it's all his fault.
It's all his fault. So Tony Benedict pitched the idea of a story about bear cubs trying to stay awake until Christmas, but apparently Hanna-Barbera wasn't interested because, as you mentioned, Jerry, there wasn't a villain. So Tony Benedict said, fine, I'll make this myself. So according to this story, he told the story to the children of, quote, some CEO in Vancouver. And the children loved it so much that Tony walked away with a check to get started.
Wow.
It's so vague and mysterious.
I got to try doing that.
Yeah.
Right.
Where do I find a CEO in Vancouver?
Yeah, well,
Give me a bus ticket.
Step one, go to Vancouver.
Okay.
Initially, he called this a Yellowstone Christmas. It was a half-hour cartoon, and Tony Benedict has posted a copy of that original version on Vimeo.
Nice.
That's not the version we watched, but it's up there. It's actually really good quality. I put a link in the show notes.
Oh.
It might be the master that he uploaded to Vimeo. But
I hope so.
Yeah. So, but he's trying to shop this to TV networks. Nobody wants it until Warner Brothers shows interest. And it looks like the original idea was to make it a featurette to be screened before bigger films like Disney's done before, like Mickey's Christmas Carol ended up being.
You're a little long for that.
Yeah, well, first it was a half hour. Instead, they decide to let it stand on its own as a weekend matinee show. So they had Tony Benedict up the runtime to 45 minutes by adding songs, along with live-action bookends, and this is the version I'm familiar with. The original didn't have any songs.
Oh, wow.
Well, I did notice that the songs in this are, sung Toy Story 1 style, as in by someone else you're not seeing.
Yeah. And musically, they're very like late 60s. Like they're not even 70s yet.
No, this is a wall of sound sort of soundtrack.
Yeah.
The live action segments that were added feature Hal Smith, who voices Mr. Ranger in this special. I've talked about Hal Smith on here before. Last time, funnily enough, was in Yogi's First Christmas, and he played Santa in that.
Yeah.
Wow.
It was I know him most as the voice of Owl.
Yeah, voice of Owl. Yep.
I know him best as the location of the movie. What was it called? The Incredible Fantastical Doobity Woobity. I don't know. The special where Time for Timer got its start. The one that took place inside the kid's uncle. Yeah. He was the uncle.
I love that.
The location. Yeah, that's correct.
Yeah.
The Country of Carl. That I remember.
Yes. So here, Hal Smith is setting up the story for his young niece and nephew who are trying to stay up and wait for Santa Claus to come.
I'll tell you what. How would you like to hear a brand new, never-before-told story of Christmas?
A story that no one ever heard?
That's right. Now, that actually happened to me when I was a forest ranger in Yellowstone National Park.
So that, plus the songs, bump this up to feature length. But then, by the time Tony Benedict brought this back to Warner Brothers in the late 60s, the studio had been sold to Seven Arts. And the new owners were not interested. So now he's back to shopping it around again, and he finally sells it to R&S Films, who retitles the movie Santa and the Three Bears and distributes it as a weekend matinee starting in November 1970. But wait, there's more.
Yes.
R&S Films was based in South Florida and had ties with a local theme park called Pirates World, along with Ocean World Marine Park. So they produced additional wraparound live-action segments that replaced the ones Tony Benedict added with Hal Smith.
Wow. That's a lot of, like, this is like the Snyder cut and just every single version.
Yeah.
Or what is it, Blade Runner, right? Wasn't there like the final cut plus another cut?
That's
plus,
right. Yes.
That's like 5 million cuts.
Yeah.
Of these. Jeez.
I was thinking it was like Robotech, they
There was a lot of that.
they rewrote the wraparounds to have a different character be the main character. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, this third version is more of a Mighty Morphin Power Ranger situation. These new segments are filmed in Ocean World. Did either of you happen to watch this version?
Yes.
I did not. No.
Okay.
That was the one I saw.
And I think this is the one that Riff Tracks watched as well.
Yes, with Bridget and Mary Jo doing the riffing.
Yeah, this one's so weird. It's largely just promoting this Ocean World park, but the way they tie it into the story is another forest ranger, not Hal Smith. They couldn't be bothered to pay Hal Smith to shoot more footage.
I'm sure he lived in like Burbank or something.
He probably would have done it. And he probably would have done it for scale, right? I mean, at that point,
he's just... but like they're thinking, I don't want to fly this guy to Florida.
Exactly. Yeah.
So they got some other guy to play a ranger who's spending Christmas in Florida with his nieces and nephews, and he takes them to see the porpoises at Ocean World.
Wow.
Gee, Uncle Bill, it's hard to believe it's really Christmas when the weather is so nice.
I know, but we're in Florida, and that's the way it is in the winter. Now, I promised you all a special treat for the holidays. What'll it be?
Can we go and see the porpoises?
That'll be fun. Come on, I'll get the car.
He knows a guy who works there, and he takes them on a tour through this park where they go into way too much detail about how they capture the dolphins.
Yeah.
Warning! Once the animal is entangled, we carefully try to bring him aboard. This is the most difficult part of the operation because the dolphin, or porpoise as we call them, fight very hard for their freedom.
It's so bad.
I liked that part because it was like, we capture the dolphins by dragging a net behind, and I'm just thinking, and if we catch any tuna, we throw them away.
Yeah, just like, they're easily trainable. They're actually real stupid. Oh, they're talking way too casually about straight up animal abuse.
Flipper would have words with thee. Yeah.
To open the Christmas special for children that has nothing to do with dolphins.
Yeah, it's like Santa and the 12 Dolphins.
I gotta say, watching this special, it's very Inception, right?
Yeah.
Like there's a story, and then they go deeper into the story, and then they go deeper into that story, and then they dream in that story. I mean, it's like it's the Inception of Christmas specials.
But while this forest ranger and his family are there, the kids complain it doesn't feel like Christmas with all this warm, sunny weather. Pfft, not with that attitude.
Try South Texas Christmas.
Yeah,
it's all warm, sunny weather. Yeah.
So their uncle tells them this story about Santa and the Three Bears that doesn't even involve him. It's one of his co-workers who stays in the park over the winter.
Yeah, I think we see a cartoon character who I guess is supposed to be this ranger drive away with like 3 frames on the screen before the other ranger takes over.
They added that just to make this all make sense.
Makes sense. Yeah, that checks out.
All to promote a marine park, and they barely even mention Pirates World, which produced this version to promote itself.
Wow.
What do you know about Pirates World?
Pirates World has filmed a few other movies at that location, both appropriate for children and not appropriate for children.
Nah.
Perhaps you've heard of another quote-unquote Christmas movie filmed there called Santa and the Ice Cream Bunny.
Yeah. Familiar with that one.
I'll get to that eventually, and that's even more bonkers than this, but...
Oh. Which one? That one also comes in multiple versions.
Yes, it does. It does.
Do you want the Thumbelina cut or the Jack of the Beanstalk cut?
No, this is tied back into this film distributor that Tony Benedict finally got to put the movie in theater. So that's how we got here.
Is this like Taylor Swift, like just re-recording some of her songs and like releasing it just to keep royalties?
Yeah.
Is that what it is?
Oh, that's why Tony Benedict put the original up on Vimeo. It's Tony's version. A Yellowstone Christmas. Wow. all of these are available on YouTube because who knows who has the rights to what anymore.
For real.
No one wants anything to do with anything. But speaking of Pirates World, I realized as I'm watching this, at this point, it's 1971. You know what else happened in Florida in 1971?
Oh, Cuban Missile Crisis? I don't know.
No, Walt Disney World opened.
Oh. Disney World, yeah.
And 2 years later, Pirates World closed.
Well,
It couldn't survive the onslaught of Disney.
no.
Doesn't Disney have a Pirates World, or is that just sort of folded into Adventure?
No, it's shut down completely.
Wow.
Oh, okay.
How far away are they?
They're South Florida. They're close to Fort Lauderdale. So
Okay.
they're
Gotcha.
a bit of a drive for me. But I mean, no one's going down to Fort Lauderdale or Danny anymore. They're all going to Orlando.
Right.
They actually mentioned Fort Lauderdale in the live action segments for Santa and the Three Bears, or at least you see it printed in the backdrop in Marine World.
Mm-hmm.
See, this is all super interesting because I saw the one with Hal Smith and the two little kids.
That's the one I am familiar with. That's the one I had on my tape. And then when I saw the first one from YouTube, I'm like, I don't remember any of this. But I watched all of them. So now there are 3 different versions of this now obscure Christmas special, and there's a 4th with no live action wraparounds, but it keeps the songs.
Right. Wow.
All of these variants are on YouTube, except for Tony Benedict's, which is on Vimeo. All of those are in the show notes. We'll be talking about the theatrical version that later aired on TV.
We expect you to watch all of them.
Oh,
That's
yeah.
right.
Every one of them.
Yeah.
Sit through the songs. No fast forwarding.
Go nuts. Frankenstein this whole thing. It is worth a day. So now let's get into the actual story of Santa and the Three Bears. And the animation portion opens with the song Wintertime.
Wintertime, it's the oncoming season. Summertime has long since disappeared.
As Mr. Ranger rides through Yellowstone National Park on his little red Vespa, waving to all the animals. It's still late fall. There's no snow on the ground yet, but some of the trees are already bare.
It really, really felt very Hanna-Barbera. Like everything about it, the art style,
the sound effects.
The sound effects for sure. It just it really did feel Hanna-Barbera. But I loved it. This was still the 60s, like 70s transition, and even Chuck Jones and Friz Freleng, like in the later Warner Brothers stuff, kind of had it where they have like animation squares and rectangles, like cutting frames and to save on animation. Like there was a lot of that going on.
Everyone kind of wanted to be Peter Max at that point.
Yes.
That's right.
Well, because Tony Benedict came from Hanna-Barbera, he got a few friends to help him produce this original one. So that's why it has the Hanna-Barbera feel. And I'm guessing because Warner Brothers was the one who got him to add the song segments, that's why those feel very Warner Brothers in that late 60s, early 70s era.
Yeah, I was kind of hoping for a song that had those big Chuck Jones horns.
Yeah.
Like the Phantom Toll Booth.
It felt very A Boy Named Charlie Brown.
Oh, yeah, that too.
Yeah, for sure. Mm-hmm.
But Mr. Ranger stops to check on our titular three bears, but not those three bears.
What?
No, that was just a ruse to get butts in seats. This is a mama bear, Nana, and her two baby bears named Nakomi and Chinook.
Yeah.
Are they both named after kinds of salmon or just the one?
Probably both.
I don't know. I mean, now you're stretching my the limit of my knowledge. I really don't know.
I mean, I know obviously they are both Native American words, but I couldn't tell you which language. But
yeah, Nakomi is a Japanese word that means stewed. Hamburger steak. Nakomi hamburger steak is the first thing that Google comes up with.
Ranger's got some explaining to do.
Nana is voiced by Gene Vanderpyle, the voice of Wilma Flintstone.
About ready to call it a season, Nana? Oh, that's for sure. I was just about to tuck the cubs in for the winter.
And you can really hear it in her voice because
yeah.
Oh no, we love Jean Vanderpyle. No shame on her, but she has two voices. She has the Wilma voice, and then she sort of gobbles her neck like a turkey to do the Mrs. Slate voice, the Mr. Flintstone kind of voice.
That's true.
Yeah, but no mistaking the Wilma voice here, even as a bear.
Mm-mm. I gotta say though, the look of this mama bear. I felt bad for this mama bear because she is like the most exhausted bear I've ever seen.
She is so sleep deprived through this whole thing.
I will bet anything that her original character design, or at least when they were designing her, she had to have like a kind of stubby cigarette hanging from her lip when she was.
The voice of Nakomi, the girl cub, is credited as Annette Farah.
Hiya, Mr. Ranger.
Who later went by Christine Farah, and now goes by what I assume is her married name, Chris Gilmore. This is all according to IMDb. She's now a casting director, and she recently co-wrote and co-directed a 2021 horror comedy called Blood Pageant, which stars, among others, Stephen Baldwin and Snoop Dogg.
Wow.
This sounds like a winner right there.
Yep. But she's still a kid here as Nakomi.
Mm-hmm.
And her brother Chinook is voiced by Bobby Rhea.
Oh, we don't want to go to bed.
Okay, have you ever seen Hanna-Barbera's version of Jack and the Beanstalk with Gene Kelly?
I don't think I have, actually.
Maybe long ago.
It's from 1967, and it's another Gene Kelly's in a cartoon movie like Anchors Away was. But it's way worse than Anchors Away.
Oh,
Like
no.
way lower budget, and Bobby Rhea plays Jack, but they got someone else to do the singing for him, so here's Jack lip-syncing badly while green screened into a castle also badly.
Ooh, I gotta see this because this sounds amazing.
Anyway, Nakomi and Chinook, they run out of their cave to greet Mr. Ranger. But because Tony Benedict has access to the Hanna-Barbera sound library, they run right under him, sending him flipping in the air a few times before crashing onto the ground.
Hey, look out! Oops! Sorry, Mr. Ranger.
No, that's all right, kid. I'm used to an unusual welcome around here.
Yeah, I was disappointed we didn't hear the Fred Flintstone bass violin sound.
For real.
I'm glad you knew what I was talking about.
Oh, I know exactly what you're talking
about. It didn't sound like a weird grunt.
No, they came out pretty good, actually.
He's cool about it. They're kids. And Nana tells Mr. Ranger she was just about to tuck them into bed to hibernate for the winter. Then she makes a passing comment about how she hopes her lumbago doesn't act up this winter.
I thought that was just me. I'm glad I'm not the only one who heard that. I was like, wait, what did she say? Okay, good.
So she's having issues with her lumbar, or what is lumbago?
Yeah, it's a back thing.
Yeah, it's an outdated term, but...
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
But that's never referenced again. Why is that line there?
You know what it is? It's because she like knocks over trees with her back. So
that's it. Yeah.
We should have seen her do that and go, oh, my lumbago. Oh.
Yeah, they should have thrown it in there.
Exactly. Bring it home, guys.
I guess they didn't want you to feel too bad about all the sacrifices she was making for this.
That's right. So Mr. Ranger says goodbye to the bears and heads back to his cabin right as it starts to snow. And this is a gorgeous shot if you've got a good version of the recording.
Mm-hmm.
That's one reason to give the original Yellowstone Christmas version a look, because it's a copy of the original print and it looks super crisp.
Yeah. Notice that it's, in fact, literally Yellowstone Park, not Jellystone or Brownstone or anything like that.
Yeah, no, they used Yellowstone, and even in the credits, they got permission and they got a handshake deal from the National Park Service. So that's really nice.
I was reading about this and learned that actual park rangers are a little frustrated by how familiarity with characters like, say, Mr. Ranger here and, Ranger Smith and J. Audubon Woodlore, they really kind of misrepresent the actual authority that rangers have. People don't realize that rangers are forest cops and are supposed to carry guns.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm glad that the original print is on Vimeo because most of these other versions are a copy of a copy of a copy.
Right.
Very murky.
But you can still, even in those, tell Tony Benedict and his animators took a lot of care into making this park look like a cartoon winter wonderland.
Yeah, it really did look gorgeous.
Mm-hmm. Mr. Ranger is admiring it from his window, and the inside of his cabin looks just like the set of the live-action intro with Hal Smith.
Oh.
That came later.
Yeah.
So they must have put a lot of care into making that look like the cabin.
Did he have the same red chair?
Well, he had to add it, so he had something to compare it to.
Yeah, it had a very similar looking chair.
Mm-hmm.
Like the fireplace was right there and everything.
Yeah, you'd think that he would get, a little more comfortable, but he's just kind of bobbing around with his tie pulled tight and everything.
Yeah.
So do rangers actually live on the park that they're supposed to police?
Often, not always.
Oh.
Yellowstone is so remote and so huge that this doesn't seem odd to me.
Where would you go?
Okay.
Right.
I don't know. I've never been, so I don't know. That's why I'm curious.
Yeah, no, it's like a huge chunk of mostly Wyoming and some of Idaho that we don't talk about. Because you could commit crimes there and no jury can convict you because they can't pull a jury from a place no one lives.
12 angry bears.
Yeah.
Not that
it's real.
That's right. Not that we're advocating that. But
don't murder anybody in the zone of death,
please.
Or at least murder someone where we can see you.
That's right.
But Mr. Ranger talks to us, the viewers, I guess. No one else to talk to, but he says it's almost time for Christmas. He starts putting up decorations, and that reminds him he needs to go out and get himself a tree.
Okay, here was my other question.
Yeah.
Do rangers have the authority to cut down trees in a national park? Aren't they protected or something?
Interesting.
He must know a spot where it's cool.
Technically, this is private property.
Like, no one else is there. Who's going to tell anyone?
That's true. That's true.
Who's going to snitch? The bears?
Imagine if you lived right next door to Yellowstone National Park and people were just walking onto your property like, oh, this place is a dump.
So he puts on his coat and hat and heads out into the snow, happily singing jingle bells. Meanwhile, Nakomi and Chinook are still awake. Of course they are. It's the first snow of winter, so they had to go out and play in it.
Mm-hmm.
We hear Nana call for them to come to bed, and they tell her, "In a minute, Mom." But then their attention is immediately diverted by the sight of Mr. Ranger marching through the snow. So now these two cubs go sliding down a hill to see what he's up to.
Mm-hmm.
And unfortunately, the bears aren't used to playing in the snow, so their slide down a hill quickly turns into being wrapped into a big, uncontrollable snowball.
Classic.
How many times has this happened on your show?
At least twice before this.
Oh, did you watch Willow before?
The raccoons, right?
Okay. It happened in the raccoons.
Yeah.
One of the Mickeys. One of the Disney ones.
Oh, it definitely must have happened in Donald's Snow Fight, couldn't it?
Oh, I didn't do that one yet, but yeah, it does happen in Donald's Snow Fight.
Mm-hmm. It's probably one of the Yogi Bear ones, I think.
Oh, yeah, Yogi Bear. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, that's got its own TV tropes page. Human Snowball.
Yeah.
I know it by name now because I keep having to look it up.
Nice.
Oh, the Human Centipede Christmas special.
Oh, geez.
So this big snowball crashes right into Mr. Ranger, who's pretty cool about it after realizing it's Nakomi and Chinook. He just says with a laugh, "You two get into everything, even snowballs."
I love that everybody in this universe is all Dr. Dolittle, so the ranger can just talk to these different animals and understand them. It's cool. Yeah. Or Animal Man, whoever you want to say.
Animal Man.
We see lots of other animals, but we don't see him talking to any of them. I would have liked to have seen if this is just something that he can do, or if everyone just talks to bears. Bears are just like, a minority that happen to live in the park.
Maybe. Yeah. He's driving during the others. So the country bears. Yeah.
Hey, you kids had better get home and start hibernating. You know how your mom is. She can be a real bear when she's angry. I made a funny.
Ah.
He even adds, I made a funny.
That's what you say when it wasn't funny.
I have always liked cowabunga.
My favorite part is that Nakomi goes, what you gonna do with that axe? You know, sounding exactly like Fern from Charlotte's Web.
Oh, no.
See, that's better than, because every time I see an axe now, I always think of like Silent Night, Deadly Night.
Oh,
so that's way better.
Oh,
you know?
Not that much better.
Punish.
Not at the beginning of Charlotte's Web, anyway. All right. Well, Mr. Ranger explains he's going to chop down a Christmas tree, and of course, Nakomi asks,
What's a Christmas tree? And what's a Christmas?
Oh, Christmas is, well, Christmas is a time for good cheer. Singing carols and exchanging gifts. Everyone is bubbling and happy. People are at their best around Christmas time.
Well, the Cubs love the sound of that. They want to know why they've never had a Christmas. And Mr. Ranger just matter-of-factly tells them, because you're bears, you hibernate through it. And I love that he just continues describing the most wonderful things and then just like, well, better get to bed so you can miss it all.
Sucks to be you.
Yeah.
Just keep going.
I like how when he first starts, the bears have this look of abject stunners, like, what the hell are you talking about?
Yeah. The animation, I do have to say, I like the animation in this. The design, the character design was really, really done well, I thought. And you can definitely see like its inspiration on the gosh, what are they called? The
Christmas tree train?
Yeah, the Christmas tree train with the Chatter Hill or whatever they're called.
Oh, yeah,
Chucklewood.
Chucklewood critters.
Yeah,
That's
something
right.
like that. Yeah.
But he keeps going. They ask, what else happens? And he's like, oh, marshmallow roast, dancing games. It's the best. Christmas is the best. And everyone who's awake for it is the best. Oh, you'd love it, kids. Too bad you have to go to bed now. Bye.
Do you think this is a metaphor for being Jewish at Christmas?
Oh, no.
I was thinking this is like the grandparents like hopping up the kids on sugar and then sending them back to their
Then he gives them literal sugar later.
He totally does.
Oh, but first Nana calls the kids again and the Cubs head home and I'm just cackling. They slowly slink back to their cave, nudge their mother awake and ask her, tell us about Christmas. And she's still half asleep like, what's Christmas? Of course she doesn't know anything about it.
This whole special was just like an excuse to get his frustrations out for like his kids waking him up and keeping him up.
Yeah, she just says, I don't know anything about it. And she falls back asleep with a thud.
Yeah.
Mr. Ranger told us this was the best time of the year.
Why, of course it is, children. That's when we get our sleep.
Yeah, man, nap time's the best. Everybody take a nap.
What do you think Mama Bear's score was during Fat Bear Week?
100. Well, their mom's not much help. She's out like a light again. So these two are so hyped up by Christmas now that they can't possibly sleep. So they decide to go see if there's a Christmas happening at Mr. Ranger's house. And here's where they added some time to the original cut. We get a little montage of the Cubs running and playing in the snow on their way to the cabin to a reprise of that wintertime song.
Well, it's done really well. I can't complain.
Yeah, this is where you see a lot of those late 60s, early 70s animation effects, breaking up scenes and moving panels on a black background.
Right.
The added animation also includes a bit of the two Cubs slipping and sliding across a frozen lake, Bambi style.
Totally.
Right down to one of them crashing into the other and both of them careening into a snowbank. That's pulled right from Bambi.
What was it? Is it an homage or is it a swipe? And is there really a difference?
It almost looked like a trace.
Ask Rob Liefeld. You know?
We then cut to Mr. Ranger's cabin where we see he's already got the tree decorated and presents underneath it. No idea whose presents they are.
His niece and nephew, I guess.
I guess, yeah. He's expecting visitors later in his cabin in the closed national park.
Before they fly to Florida.
Yeah.
They hadn't invited him to Florida this year.
Yeah, right. Well, that's the other ranger. That's some other guy.
That's right. Oh, that's true. That's the other guy. Yeah.
Maybe they share a cabin because he's leaving that cabin. Anyway, Mr. Ranger's putting some more ornaments up, sees the two cubs out the window, and does a double take. Oh, hi, Nakomi and Chinook. Nakomi and Chinook?
That's classic.
Oh, are you surprised to see the bears who can't sleep now because you gave them a mental sugar high? So he lets them in through the window for some reason.
Door, window, same thing to a bear.
Yeah.
Wall that's too thin,
I saw Cocaine Bear. It's true.
Chinook immediately starts going through Mr. Ranger's big box of decorations, and Nakomi almost helps herself to a whole box of marshmallows.
Mm-hmm.
Which she says look scrummy.
Hey, Chinook, look over here. Little white, tasty-looking mushy things. Bet they taste just scrummy.
That's a bit British for a bear from Wyoming.
She does say.
Yeah. I don't think I've ever seen marshmallows come in a box like that.
I haven't.
This is an extremely marshmallow-centric Christmas. Aren't marshmallows usually more of an Easter thing?
Yeah.
Well, I guess you put them in hot cocoa, right?
Oh, that's true. Yeah, I mean, I've had peppermint-flavored marshmallows around Christmas. But these just look like regular old marshmallows.
But there was a great, classic animation bit where, was it Nakomi? Nakomi's about to take a bite, and he, moves the box out of the way. He was just picking it up, and she just snaps onto nothing, and her jaw kind of rattles a bit.
Yeah. Making the exact same expression that George Jetson makes when Astro grabs the sandwich out of his hand or something.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yep.
Then Mr. Ranger lets them each have one marshmallow and tells them they should really be home sleeping.
Mm-hmm.
But they want to hear about Christmas. And now Mr. Ranger seems to realize, oh, maybe this is my fault. And after a pretty please with honey on it, Mr. Ranger agrees to tell them a little more about Christmas. So he goes to sit down in this big comfy chair next to the fire. And the bears run at him and basically tackle him into the chair. That's what you get for giving the bear sugar.
Yes.
It's a different kind of cocaine.
Yeah.
It says, warning, hang food in trees. You nailed that sign up yourself.
Really? So he starts with the nativity story. And honestly, the way he tells it is better than a lot of other specials that try and do the same.
That's true. Yeah.
Sorry, kids who met Orko.
Well, we don't know how detailed he got because we cut to commercial during that part.
Oh, that's true. Yeah, they skipped to the end. But Mr. Ranger says,
a little child was born to the family of Mary and Joseph in a place called Bethlehem.
Is that in Yellowstone Park?
Oh, no. It's far, far away. Well, anyway, this little child brought a gift to the world of peace on earth and goodwill toward men. And even to this day, people still give presents on this child's birthday, which we call Christmas. And over the years, many legends built up around Christmas.
It's a very secular version of the nativity, honestly.
Well, I get it. But it's still, it is odd. Like you see Charlie Brown do it, and then you go to this, and it's like,
how do you explain original sin to a bear?
Right. It works here. I don't think I've ever heard anyone in a Christmas special explaining Christmas to someone who's never heard of it make the jump from baby Jesus to Santa in a single sentence.
Yeah.
It was impressively succinct.
Yeah. Well, they're bears. I mean, they're smart, but they're still just bears, right?
Bears.
Yeah. So, yeah.
Very food motivated.
Yes. Now to explain Santa is a bit trickier. So Mr. Ranger grabs a pad and pencil and draws a big ol' arch across the paper and says, this is where we live. It's called the world. Oh, you're starting there?
It's where you keep all your stuff.
Yeah, take that, flat earthers.
Even Nakomi's like, you mean the world is round? And perhaps I'm expecting too much from the talking bear.
It's the second motivation for making the special is just to knock down those flat earth guys.
I don't think there were as many of them in 1970.
There might not have been.
No.
How depressing.
No, but
how flattening.
The ranger draws the North Pole, just a little barber pole at the top of the world, like you do.
Yeah, of course.
Then he turns the page and draws Santa's workshop, a bunch of stick figure reindeer and elves making toys. And then we fade into another song called The World of Toy People, as we see a montage of elves making toys.
At the top of the world, in a land white with snow, live a kind of toy people that only children know.
Some big toys.
Yeah, they had a little Keebler look to them as well, too.
Yeah, they did. And this is pretty well animated. This is exactly how I'd picture Santa's elves if they were drawn by a guy who used to work for Hanna-Barbera.
Right. Yeah, agreed.
And is now a forest ranger.
And is now a forest ranger.
But I do like how they do the Bugs Bunny, Daffy Duck animation bit, with the hand and the drawing everything,
The songs in these are okay. That Wintertime one from earlier has been burned into my brain for 40 years.
Yeah.
This one's forgettable, but all right.
Yeah, that first one's like the most memorable one, honestly.
Yeah. Well, we'll get into it. But by the way, Tony Benedict also wrote the lyrics to most of these songs.
Wow. It's always nice to see something that is like, a single maniac's vision brought to life.
Uh-huh.
No, two maniacs, him and Barry Mann.
Yeah.
That's true. But we are now in like the second story of our story, right?
Yes.
Or maybe the third, I guess, if you count the first that one edit. So I wonder if Christopher Nolan saw this when he was little and was just like, I have an idea.
We're deep into the onion now.
It's always fun to kind of dip back into the first one and imagine, the uncle at the Porpoise Park being like, and then Santa drew a picture and it looks sort of like this.
That's right. Exactly.
Santa drew a picture. The ranger drew a picture.
Yeah. So these songs are sung by Joyce Taylor in this special, but there was also an LP record with the songs re-recorded by Jeannie Sheffield. There's a really good upload on YouTube, and I'll put that in the show notes as well.
Well, that's cool.
This animation is interesting. I should add, this song is part of the original Yellowstone cut. But it shows the elves packing all the toys in multiple big bags labeled by country.
Yeah, I thought that was interesting.
Yeah, I like that the bag full of toys for the USA is exactly the same size as the bag full of toys for Indonesia.
Yeah.
How many kids celebrate Christmas in Indonesia?
Right.
Right.
We got some bad kids here, honestly.
And they're not, and the bags aren't that big. You fit every toy you're giving to every kid in the United States in a bag the same size as the one for Denmark.
must be TARDIS bags.
TARDIS bag. Well, I mean, that's my go-to theory for Santa to begin with. But
yeah.
But this song ends with the elves loading the bags into Santa's little pink sleigh, and off he flies. And then we fade back to Mr. Ranger's cabin. The cubs are staring at him all dreamy-eyed, but Chinook's eyes, his pupils are pulsating, and it was freaking me out.
Okay, this is a deep cut, but I just watched the CBS Story Break adaptation of the science fiction novel Grinny, if you've ever heard of that one, where a couple of children's home is invaded by an alien that is pretending to be their great aunt. And in this movie, she can make her eyes pulsate just like that to make the parents think whatever she wants. Like, you remember me and the trouble I have with naughty children.
Oh, well, I know what I'm watching after we stop recording.
Yeah.
For real.
But Nakomi's pupils are just super tiny, like she just got her photo taken by Gonzo using a gigantic flashbulb. But they thank Mr. Ranger for the story and they run along home. He opens the door for them to leave. Because when God closes a window, he opens the door or something like that.
I've said that for years,
Sounds right.
Yeah.
These cubs start heading home, but they're not at all tired, so they decide that they want to bring home their own Christmas tree.
Yeah.
But they're both tiny baby bears, so it's not as easy as they think. Chinook tries to rip the tree out of the ground.
I love that. The tree's just bent over.
Yeah, like he tries to pluck it like a flower.
Yeah, Nakomi grips one of the branches with her teeth.
Yeah.
But that ends up sending her flying across the forest.
Like when Homer and Bart tried to set the snare for the rabbit.
I was thinking, I was thinking the same thing.
Sentence. That's one of my favorite Simpsons jokes of all time, and it's from season 1.
Man, a 36-year decline.
Yeah, well. Nakomi's okay. She lands in a snowbank. And here's where she gets the idea of getting Mom to knock the tree down for them. So again, they wake her up and she jumps up with a start this time, thinking something's happened. But the cubs calmly ask her, "Can we have a Christmas tree, Mom?" And they don't understand why she's never heard of one.
Yeah. I guess she, it's like Mom knows everything, so anything Mr. Ranger knows, she must know, right?
Yeah,
Right. Right.
She tells them it's almost a month past their bedtime already, but when they give her a big sad "aww," she gives in.
Oh, all right. But you must promise to remain in the cave for the rest of the winter.
Fine by them. They get a Christmas tree out of it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
They were going to do that anyway.
Exactly.
After these messages, we'll be right back.
You won't find a 50-cent gift anywhere as good as a Hardee's gift check. Getting a Hardee's gift check is... it's sure a lot more fun than getting underwear. And at participating Hardee's, when you buy a $5 book of gift checks to give to others, Hardee's gives you more than $3 worth of extra coupons for yourself. Wow!
Hardee's gift checks. Give them as a gift and get coupons for yourself.
Ho, ho! Hardee's, ho, ho, ho!
What's up, dudes? I'm Jerry D of Totally Rad Christmas, the podcast that talks all things Christmas in the 80s. Toys, movies, specials, music, books, fashion, and fads.
If it was gnarly during Christmas in the 80s, he's got it covered. Wait, is there a lot of things to talk about for the 80s and Christmas?
Well, you got the movie giants like Christmas Vacation, Scrooged, and A Christmas Story. There are TV specials like Muppet Family Christmas, Claymation Christmas Celebration, and a Garfield Christmas special.
Plus classics shown every year.
You also jam out to Last Christmas, Do They Know It's Christmas, and Christmas in Hollis. But most of all, it was a time for the most bodacious, best-selling Christmas toys ever, like He-Man, G.I. Joe, Transformers,
and Cabbage Patch Kids.
Yes, them too. We cover them all, plus much more, including standard segments like Hap Hap Happiest Memory, Gag Me with the Spoon, The Other Half of the Battle,
and Chant with the Littles.
So tune in to Totally Rad Christmas everywhere you get your podcasts. Turn the clock back and dive into those warm and fuzzy memories.
Later, dudes.
So Nana goes out, knocks over a tree, brings it back to the cave, makes her lumbago worse, I guess.
Yeah, that's right.
I like how they immediately know which tree. I was like, this must be the tree the kids want. It's like, how do you know? They didn't tell you what size it was.
Right.
It's the one that's by itself.
The one that's only big enough for her to smash down with her back.
Yeah, no, it's the one that looks like it could be a separate cell that you can animate.
Yeah.
oh, I gotcha. Yeah.
It's a little too tall, but the cubs don't care. They're so happy they start singing that Jingle Bell song Mr. Ranger was singing, and now Nana's had enough.
Just what is all this Christmas stuff all about anyway?
Oh, it's terrific, Mom!
Yeah, a fat, jolly old man in a sled is gonna bring us some presents.
Yeah, and this big old jelly shakes like a bowl full of jelly.
You know what this reminded me of? Like their constant nagging. I just kept thinking of, will you take us to Mount Splashmore? Will you take us to Mount Splashmore?
No.
Will you take us to Mount Splash? Like, oh, Kids.
So, of course, Nana's next question is, where did you hear that? Mr. Ranger told us. And here's the kicker. No matter what, we're going to stay up till Christmas Eve so we can see Santa.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, see, Mr. Ranger forgot to tell them the part about Santa not showing up till you're asleep.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You know why? Because the Cubs aren't his problem. Well, they're about to be. Nana tells Nakomi and Chinook to stay there while she goes to see Mr. Ranger about what exactly has her kids wide awake and when it's happening, because he left that part out too.
Ranger.
We find him out chopping firewood. Again, are you allowed to? I guess he has to. He's got a fireplace.
Yeah.
Just keeps track of how many trees he's chopping down, I guess. He's got a log.
That's
I'm
right.
serious. That must be a thing.
Do they have to plant a new one? I don't know.
Maybe.
They take it out of his check.
He's garnishing his wages.
Fire's not going to build itself.
That's right.
Garlanding his wages.
Right. But when he comes back to his cabin, he finds Nana on his front porch, fast asleep, waiting for him. So he wakes her up and kindly asks what she's doing there, and Nana says she can't get any sleep while Nakomi and Chinook are all set on staying up until Christmas, and they don't even know when it is. And who even is Santa Claus anyway?
She's like, this is your fault. You're fixing this. Or like, I'm going to, kill you.
This is when you're supposed to curl into a tight ball with your hands covering the back of your neck.
Play dead.
Yeah.
Play dead.
Yep.
Yeah.
I wonder if Mr. Ranger wears bells.
Let the Wookiee win.
And here is where Mr. Ranger drops the ball that Santa is an old legend, and now Mama Bear's mad.
Have you been fibbing to my kids?
Why, no, not exactly. I thought you bears would be hibernating.
You do not want to be that close to the wrath of an angry Mama Bear. And Mr. Ranger, more calmly than I expect I'd be if I were flat on my back with an angry bear hovering over me, accusing of being a liar, tells her, no, not exactly. I thought y'all'd be hibernating. He doesn't visit bears because y'all are asleep through Christmas. Well, now Nana's less mad about losing a little sleep and more upset that her kids are going to now just be disappointed that Santa isn't going to show up on Christmas Eve, which, luckily for Nana, happens to be the following night.
Yeah, they did stay up for a long time, didn't they?
So, wait, didn't they just have the first snow of the winter and it was December the 24th?
Well, we don't know how much time has passed between that first scene and now.
I guess.
That's true. How long does it take them to get to the cave, from the cave to the cabin and back?
I mean, a little scooter's ride.
Oh, that's true.
But also walking distance, which we'll find out soon enough. But
lumbering distance if you're a bear.
This Ranger, why didn't he take the scooter?
Mr. Ranger says, maybe they don't have to be. I used to be a department store Santa. I'll come to your cave on Christmas Eve with presents for the Cubs. And I am shocked that Nana's first question after that wasn't, what's a department store?
Yeah.
Also, I love these perfectly convenient plot devices.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, well, luckily I just so happen to have a spare suit here.
Yeah.
It's great.
So why aren't you still a department store Santa? What, did you get too old?
Right. Is that like his side gig?
Maybe, yeah. We now get another bit added for the theatrical run. It's really a montage of snow falling across the park and the Cubs watching it from their cave, trying to stay awake, all set to a really charming little song called The Wonder of Christmas Time.
I'm sure it would be far more charming if you weren't in a matinee full of sugar-addled children screaming at each other, chasing each other around the seats.
That's true.
In some other timeline, this could have been a classic.
Mm-hmm.
But the best part about this added footage is at one point during the song, we see Mr. Ranger falling asleep in his chair by the fire, and he wakes up, rubs his eyes, looks into the fireplace, and sees the flames with faces and mouths singing the song.
I love this part. I was like, man, this guy, that was some good stuff that he had in his tea or something, because...
Look, you gotta stay warm.
What did Santa bring me? A psychotic break? You shouldn't have.
Hey, this cute little movie about bears learning about Christmas isn't trippy enough. I've got it. Singing flames. What? Don't worry about it. It'll be good.
Cool. It's cool. Just trust me.
Yeah. Well, after that, we cut to Christmas Eve, and the snowfall in Yellowstone Park has turned into a blizzard. Mr. Ranger's putting on his Santa suit and beard, doesn't even realize that there's a blizzard outside.
I love his beard, too, because it's one of those, it's like Alvin and the Chipmunks when he put on the beard, and it's just so, like, low. It doesn't cover his chin.
No.
Yeah, I mean, the whole, look, I have a beard, and the point of the beard is to cover your chin, or chins, as the case may be.
That's why I have a beard, kids, because I don't like looking at my chin.
No, especially now that we're all constantly accidentally turning on selfie mode in our phones and seeing our faces crammed into our chests like, oh, God. God, I look like Thumb Wars.
Here's where I really noticed the shift in animation from the original and the added bit where Mr. Ranger admires himself in the mirror and gives himself a wink. Did you notice the shift in animation there?
Yeah, that was so weird. He just kind of like,
yeah, it's a lot shakier in the added bit.
It looks like he's really struggling to wink.
Yeah.
I wonder if it was less frames per second.
I think it was a lot more.
We're trying to get this to 45 minutes.
Right.
Make the wink slower.
It's like, oh man, this was a lot easier before my stroke.
He opens the front door and gets knocked back by the wind. The blizzard is that bad. But Mr. Ranger's determined. He runs out the door only for the wind to whip him back inside again, covered in snow.
Yeah, he's like when in X-Men #1, when Jack Kirby like first drew it, and Iceman is like looks more like a snowman.
And he even says, "Hey, look at me, I'm a snowman. Get it?" It's like, well, you look like a snowman because they drew you that way. It's not clever.
Also, who's he talking to?
He's talking to us.
I guess so.
I don't know. Yeah. Slowly going crazy. You saw those flames.
Oh, man. Suddenly Silent Night, Deadly Night's not so far off.
It's Calcifer.
He tries to run out the door a couple of times before he decides to get low and crawl out the door, and that works.
Show to get low.
And the next thing you see is Mr. Ranger trudging through this terrible snowstorm that no one should have to trudge through.
I was thinking of the sad song from Max's sad little song from Halloween is Grinch Night here.
Oh, no.
Oh,
what am I doing here?
Yeah.
He doesn't want to disappoint those bears, but he finally gets to a point where he has to find shelter. He'll go to the bear's cave after the storm passes.
You can hear a soprano voice singing ominously during this part, and that's where I get, my one favorite joke from the riff tracks, which is when they said, "Oh no, the lady who sang the Star Trek theme song is lost too."
Thankfully, he finds an old bus stop, which looks like it has a little cabin or outhouse.
Oh, I hope it's not an outhouse.
You're going to have to wait a while, I guess.
My tool shed.
So I was curious about that. There is bus stops, like there are bus stops in Yellowstone. So.
Well, there has to be. Again, you look at a map of Yellowstone Park, and it is a huge chunk of Wyoming.
Wow.
So he heads inside to wait out the blizzard. Back in the cave, the cubs are starting to get sleepy, but they're sitting by the tree, struggling to stay awake. So Nana finally tells them, listen.
Santa is only Mr. Ranger dressed up in a red suit and wearing a false beard.
She apologizes, and the kids get a bit teary-eyed, but Nana tells them, I guess Christmas is for people, not bears, so let's go to bed, and we'll talk about it in the spring.
Man, I gotta say, I got a little choked up this time watching it as a parent. I was like, oof, that one hurt. And seeing the little tear coming out of the side of the bear's face, I was just like, yeah, this is bad. I can't do this.
I remember reading you remember Ask Marilyn in the Parade magazine? There was somebody once wrote to Marilyn and asked, what would happen if we told children everywhere that there's no Santa Claus? Not that there isn't, but
what if?
Yeah.
But her answer was kindergartens would be as festive as a funeral.
Yeah. But then we get another added song just called the Sleepy Time Song, and it's a whimsical but generic little lullaby that they put in to up the runtime.
Good night, little ones, and don't be sad. Sleep away the troubles that you have had.
And somehow, this is the piece of the special I remembered the most.
Oh, wow.
I'm having trouble conjuring it myself right now, so wow, I'm impressed.
It's just good night, little one.
Oh, right.
Yeah. The accompanying animation is rather simple. It's mostly two simply drawn bear cubs, one blue and one pink, drawn like their children's stick figure drawings. Dancing and playing through a starry moonlit night sky.
Oh, now I remember, because this reminds me so much of the Pebbles and Bam Bam song from The Man Called Flintstone.
Yes!
Wow. Deep cut. Yep.
And it's a lot of repeating animation, too. Just show the stars again. We got to get this to 45 minutes.
You got to do what it takes.
So the bears all finally go to sleep. But before Nana does, she says to herself, I just wish there was a Santa Claus. And what seems like a few seconds later, we see a rush of wind and hear an echoey ho, 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 ho from the mouth of the cave.
Yeah, it was very Frosty the Snowman, like Christmas snow animation, right?
Yeah, real.
Yeah. This is the other part of the special that stuck out in my mind all these years. Just the silhouette of Santa standing at the mouth of the cave. And Nana says, great, now he shows up. Chinook opens his eyes and wakes up Nakomi, and they see Santa hanging up stockings on the wall of the cave. Hanging them on what?
That's what I wanted to know.
He's nailing them up, I guess, or maybe there's some convenient speleothems to hang them from.
That's what I thought. I'm like, that looks like a smooth cave wall, but I guess there's one little jagged piece hanging out. Or two, I guess, because they both
a command hook.
It's
this cave is natural Velcro.
Yeah.
That's how we get Velcro, right? We mine it.
The cubs don't even get up. Nakomi says, oh, it's only Mr. Ranger dressed up like Santa Claus.
Mm-hmm.
They don't even seem to notice when this Santa says,
Merry Christmas to all, and to all a good night.
And then leaves the cave in the wave of pixie dust and shoots back up into the sky.
Also, I love what he has in their actual stockings. Because, it's like a candy cane, and then it's like a stuffed teddy bear, which is it's kind of an odd thing to have for a bear, like a stuffed teddy bear.
Yeah.
Like we play with action figures.
I had human dolls as a kid,
Yeah, that's true.
I guess there's Ken and Barbie, but like, I don't know if I've ever seen like a stuffed
Raggedy Ann.
Well, I guess Raggedy Ann.
Yeah.
That's true.
I'm sure that they give teddy bears to like bears at like a wildlife preserve or a zoo or whatever.
Oh yeah.
That seems like something that they would have.
Yeah, it's like the cloth mother versus the wire mother,
Right.
Mm-hmm.
All I can say is that these are the most ungrateful bears ever. Oh, thanks for stumbling through the blizzard and almost killing yourself.
Yeah.
Not that you had to.
Yeah. Don't notice that Santa shoots back up into the sky. I guess he parked the sleigh on top of the cave and forgot that bears don't have chimneys.
And he stays up there a while.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because he waits for the ranger to come.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. It was just like, hold on, guys. How often do we get to visit Yellowstone? Let's just take this in for a while.
That's right. That's right.
Circles back around after doing all of Idaho.
That's easy.
Yeah, right. It was like, oh, I got to go back down to the part of Arizona that's that doesn't observe daylight saving. Oh, wait, no, it's standard time. That joke doesn't work. Joke doesn't work.
That's all right.
Well, now that the Cubs have been sleeping and think it's Mr. Ranger in the skies, they're not even interested anymore. Nana tells them, he just wanted you to have a nice Christmas, kids. And Chinook says, this is the worst Christmas I ever had. And Nakomi adds, even if it's the only one. And their mom just tells them, let's try and forget it and get some sleep. We then cut to Mr. Ranger, who's fallen asleep in the bus stop shelter. The storm's finally over now, and it's almost morning, so he wakes up with a start and he heads out. Miraculously, he wasn't snowed in. That would be terrible.
No. It was, more wind than snow, I guess.
Yeah. One thing this special does a lot of is pan across the snow-covered park.
Yeah.
This time it's in the moonlight, and I do appreciate a panoramic cartoon scenery.
Yeah. Yeah, it looked great. It really did.
This cartoon would have been a whole lot easier if they had just lived closer together.
Yeah. Well, this, and it has more of that haunting music, was also added for the theatrical cut. So this was just up the runtime, 45 minutes.
Right.
But Santa Ranger arrives at the cave with a much humbler, ho, 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 anyone home?
That was really good.
Anyone home? Santa Claus is here. Ho, ho, ho! Merry Christmas!
And the bears wake up again, their eyes glazed over, just looking at each other confused before Nana finally realizes, wait, Santa, you were already here. Mr. Ranger says, no, he wasn't. He just got there, and he brought these stockings before realizing, wait, y'all already have stockings.
Stockings that look exactly the same with the same stuff in them.
Exactly the same, carefully positioned.
Yeah.
It would be a lot very funny if the stuff that Mr. Ranger had brought was actually a lot better than the stuff that the real Santa had brought.
That would have been
Brought
funny.
you marshmallows. Woo! But here's where Nakomi asks, didn't you bring these stockings, Mr. Ranger? And it takes him a second, but Mr. Ranger realizes, oh, it's me. But now Chinook pieces it all together and concludes,
A real Santa Claus was already here. Yippee! Hooray! There is a real Santa Claus.
Yeah, let's hope there really is a Santa Claus, and it's not like, one of those situations where you turn on the bathroom light and there's a sign that says, people can lick too.
So I guess if a wild animal becomes aware of Santa Claus, he automatically puts them on his list.
Ah.
Well, he did in the that book, The Biggest, Most Beautiful Christmas Tree in the World.
Oh, that's right.
So I guess
Haven't talked about that in a while.
Do not feed the bears and do not tell the bears about Santa. You don't want to make Santa's load any heavier.
Right.
That's right. He's already racing across the world and it's crazy.
Well, maybe that's what Santa Bear is for.
That's right.
That's exactly what Santa Bear's for.
Yep.
Yeah.
Next thing that happens is we hear the real Santa call out,
Ho, ho, ho! Up, Donner! Up, Blitzen!
and everyone looks up bewildered, especially Mr. Ranger, like, what's that? It's you, Santa!
I love when Santa uses ho, 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 not as his laugh, but sort of as his battle cry.
Yeah.
It's like the Tick, spoon.
Santa Claus is on the move.
There you go.
They all run outside, and sure enough, they see good old Saint Nick and his reindeer fly past the moon.
Yeah.
The Cubs shout, "Bye, Santa, Merry Christmas!" And then the kids thank Mr. Ranger for also stopping by. I'm glad to see they're appreciative of him coming through even after a blizzard.
Yeah.
Dude risked his life to give these bears candy. So they finally get to sleep for the rest of the winter. Nakomi's still holding her candy cane as she snuggles up to her mom. That's going to be fun getting unstuck in like 3 months.
Just what you wanted right before bed. Sugar. I hope you brought them toothbrushes.
That's right.
And Mr. Ranger, now with his Santa beard off, the charade's over, kids.
Yeah.
Looks at us directly at the would-be camera and asks,
Say, do you believe in Santa Claus? I sure do.
What are you talking about? We all just saw him.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. My 5-year-old was like, yes. So it worked.
It's not like the Polar Express where the crowd's too big and the boy can't see him over the sea of everyone else's heads until he finally relents. Okay, I believe. It's an empty question when you ask after we've seen him twice.
It is interesting to portray Santa Claus as someone that you don't actually put on camera, like Mohammed.
Yeah.
Right.
But fine, cute way to end this story, and that's basically it. The credits roll in the theatrical version to a reprise of The Wonder of Christmas Time, and a scene of Nakomi, Chinook, and Mr. Ranger all asleep on his chair in his cabin by the fire as snow falls out the window.
Oh, does that mean none of this happened? Was this all a dream?
Oh, no, yeah, they fell asleep during a sketch.
Well, but then Hal Smith and the kids come back as well.
Yeah, it fades back into Hal Smith's niece and nephew asleep on his lap.
Right.
He wakes them up and shows them their filled stockings because Santa stopped there, and now that's it. Except for the Pirates World version.
Right, exactly.
Where they all go look at the porpoises swimming, and they play The Wonder of Christmas Time on top of that.
Yes, while the porpoises unwrap their presents.
Oh, my
Yeah.
So not only was this a Christmas for bears, it was a Christmas for dolphins. Or,
Yeah.
I'm sorry, porpoises. They go into this thing about how, these are technically bottlenose dolphins, but people call them porpoises, so we do too. Which is confusing, because I thought they were porpoises, but we call them dolphins because people call them dolphins. I mean, I feel like Pirates World or Marine World and SeaWorld San Diego have to get on the same level here.
Yeah, well, SeaWorld Orlando wasn't built yet. That came around, right after Pirates World closed because it was too far away.
Wow.
Wasn't Jaws 3 like
Jaws? Yes, I've seen the sign. They kept the sign.
Oh, nice. I love it. I love that.
Oh, yeah.
Can you imagine if this wasn't done at Pirate World, but was actually done like at SeaWorld and while Jaws was attacking? And let me tell you a story about.
Do you believe in Jaws? I sure do.
Jaws is a Christmas movie official.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
But any final thoughts on any or all versions of Santa and the Three Bears?
How would you rank Ranger Hal versus Ranger Smith and J. Audubon Woodlore?
Ooh.
Ranger Hal is a lot more tolerant.
Yeah, he sure is.
He definitely has a lot more patience. Yeah.
Yeah.
He's got the patience of a saint.
He never gets really irritated with the bears. Yeah. Even when they directly threaten him.
Yeah, right.
Well, that's probably a good thing not to get irritated with the bear that's threatening you. But yeah, you're right. He's definitely like more chill. I mean, it could be all whatever it is that he had that made him hallucinate those flames.
Yeah, yeah, that's it.
I mean, I like it. It's cute. It really is. But also nothing happens in, it's
yes.
There's no plot. It's so it's hard for me to really watch it now. I mean, I had trouble watching it as a kid, but at the same time, I appreciate how cute it is and adorable. And it's just, like you said, there's like some great animation sequences and like beautiful scenery and things like that. So I like it, but I won't watch it a lot or maybe ever. I don't know.
I think it's the best thing that Barry Mann has put his name on. Because,
for sure.
Because if you've seen either version of Santa and the Ice Cream Bunny Or his movie, The Wonderful Land of Oz, starring his extremely unwilling son. Wearing pants that don't fit, that he's constantly pulling up while he mushmouths his way through his lines. This is the top of the heap just because of the animated sequence.
Oh no, they hit the jackpot with getting the rights to this.
Yes.
I was not expecting for how deep the iceberg was on this little special I had on tape and thought little of. I'm thrilled the original cut was so well preserved by its creator.
Yeah.
Looking forward to looking at that.
And watching this other one with the dolphins was just wild.
When I think dolphins, I think Yellowstone. So.
Yeah. It's fascinating. I'm glad I watched it, but wow, I'm much happier knowing that I grew up with the Hal Smith cut in the cave.
Yeah.
That's the coziest version of this for me. But thank you both for staying up well past your bedtime to talk about this with me.
Oh, it's got to be a month now.
Thanks for having me.
And if people want to jump through your window and beg you to tell them a story, where can they find you on the internet? Ethan.
Hey, you can listen to me every week on my podcast, A Special Presentation, or Alf Will Not Be Seen Tonight, with Mike and Ethan, starring me as Ethan, and Mike you might know better as internet horror fiction writer and bon vivant Bitter Corella. And you can find us both at Bitter Corella's YouTube channel and at A Special Presentation at Spotify. That's right. I forgot that it had a different name, but now it's not.
Oh, it's not Anchor anymore?
Yeah, Spotify bought Anchor. So yeah, it's
right. Okay. And Jerry.
So you can find me at totallyradchristmas.com or linktree.com/totallyradchristmas. It'll get you everywhere. But I'm on all the platforms and all the usual stuff. So yeah, just totallyradchristmas.com. It's fine.
There you go. Nice and easy.
Yeah.
Thank you both so much. Y'all, please visit all of those things. You can find those links in the show notes of this episode. And you can find me, as always, at adventcalendar.house. There is a link there labeled follow where you can find out wherever I wish to be found. Next episode is another Scrooge Sunday, and this is one some of y'all have been waiting a long time for me to cover, perhaps even your entire lives if your timeline's been tampered with. Till then, for Ethan and Jerry from a remote bus stop where I thankfully didn't get snowed in for 3 months, this is Mike Westfall saying, don't feed the bear sugar! And always, please watch out for the icy patch in your way out, and no porpoises were harmed during the making of this podcast.
Now, you're sure this is a bus stop and not a euphemism?
Little of column A, a little of column B.
All bus stops are, honestly.
Yeah, the good ones. Good night, y'all. Next time on the Advent Calendar House.